We finally did it, boys. I thought it would be a long time for this event to ever occur again, but within 1 year, we've already had another one. We finally got a Concord 2 situation happening already, and it has just been a few months over a year since the cancellation of the first one back in the August of last year. Yep, I never thought it could be done again, but here we are with its spiritual successor, Highguard. Being developed in secret for many years by ex-Respawn devs who went off to start a brand new studio named Wildlight Entertainment. But to be honest, after looking at the reactions to this trailer, they should have probably kept this game a secret. This was the very last trailer for the Game Awards, and what should have been a highly anticipated title from a well-beloved studio was instead a trailer to yet another hero shooter that we've already seen a million times before. Highguard was even marketed by Jeff Keighley himself as some sort of brand new groundbreaking title that'll redefine the entire gaming industry as we knew it. They were calling it a, quote, brand new breed of shooter and something this world has never seen before, overhyping it as if it was the second coming of Jesus or something. But as it turns out, it was just another title that nobody wanted. And it's really unfortunate too, because I don't think that this game looked that bad. It was just that the stars have all perfectly aligned, or should I say misaligned, for this one situation to occur. I almost feel kinda bad for the devs because I do think that the hate is kinda overblown, but that's what happens when you blue ball an entire fanbase and do a little old bait and switch. Now, everything that could have gone wrong for these developers did, and they have to suffer the humongous backlash of the public opinion, all because it was horribly marketed to an audience that wasn't too keen on having yet another one of these titles released to an already oversaturated market. It was just a perfect storm of underwhelming and overhyping that led to their trailer getting absolutely demolished by the entire internet, with their official trailer receiving over 40k dislikes and only receiving 4,000 likes as of the recording of this video. It was pretty clear that everybody wanted an announcement from the ex-devs of Titanfall for a very long time, but not this announcement. And I think they knew exactly what they were doing here when they claimed the very last trailer slot at the Game Awards and when they were writing the script for Jeff Keighley to follow. They were banking on the fact that their reputation of being the Titanfall devs would help propel this game into relevance. What they didn't consider, however, was that everyone was already tired of these kinds of games completely oversaturating the market right now. The thing is that nobody wanted another generic, free-to-play, live service PvP hero shooter that they would need to keep playing forever in order to keep up with it. Now don't get me wrong, Highguard looks like it's going to be a competently made game with some decently fun gameplay just like how Concord was. But the thing is that Highguard just looks so bland and corporate that it almost feels like a parody of a video game, like one of those off-brand nondescript video games that you would see in the background of a movie, not an actual AAA title being developed by the same devs that made some of the most beloved video games of all time. We honestly expected more out of them. But when we all saw those first 10 seconds of that trailer, we already knew that this title would be cooked from day one, because it pretty much started off the same way as Concord did. A bunch of generic looking characters with no memorable features or special characteristics, all doing their little signature abilities that we've already seen dozens of times in other titles already, except with a different coat of paint. But this time it's different because we'll be doing it while riding on horseback. Everything else that was shown in this trailer felt like an exact replica of Concord, except instead of the corny millennial humor, they have the ultra serious soldier guy doing epic things and trying to aura farm. But despite Wildlight's best efforts to try and make something people would vibe with, it still wasn't good enough to outweigh the absolute slop that was the end result. Oh cool, the main guy has a standard assault rifle and his ultimate is Jet's ult from Valorant. Amazing. Or how about the primal druid guy whose special ability is to roar really loud and blow up only the specific walls placed around the arena, not all of them for some reason. And of course, there has to be the obligatory big blue guy whose main selling point is that they're really big and they do big smashes. Like, come on, I could ask a 5-year-old to think of something more interesting than this. It honestly feels like the character designers just used ChatGPT to generate these character models because all of them look so vastly uninteresting to the point where a literal AI could probably make something much more compelling. The bland looking characters aside, the gameplay within the trailer did itself no favors in garnering any hype for this title because what little snippets of the gameplay loop that were given to us didn't really seem all too interesting, and it feels like I can already tell what the entire match of Highguard would play out before it even releases. Let me guess here, there's two teams of either 5 or 6 that are pitted against each other. One team is the defenders and the other one is the attackers, and the main objective of the game for the attackers is to destroy the core or nexus or something, and the defender's job is to prevent the attackers from completing their goals, whether that's acquiring the super special shield breaking sword that I think they literally called the shield breaker in the trailer. Either that or whatever else helps the attackers get the sword easier. And once the attackers take down the defender's shields, they have to destroy the core, and if they do that, they win. But if they fail to do that before the timer or their lives run out, then they lose. That's what I think is going to be pretty much the main gameplay loop of Highguard, and we'll see once the game fully comes out whether much of what I speculated was true or not. But speculation aside, that's not the main point. The issue is that it wasn't just me that could have easily predicted the gameplay loop of Highguard. I feel like most other people could have easily figured it out. I mean, it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to parse through all the trailer footage and put together the pieces. The thing is that the gameplay loop just isn't as innovative or groundbreaking as they would like to make you think. Sure, there are some nice little gimmicks here and there, like being able to ride mounts or being able to use a really cool sword for a few seconds. Whatever they may be, none of it really stood out to the audience, and it failed to set itself apart from the rest of the other hero shooters on the market. The harsh reality for Wildlight Studios, that I'm not sure that they've even realized yet, is that there's a profound fatigue of hero shooters in this current gaming landscape. A hero shooter fatigue, if you will, and no one's looking forward to sinking all their time into another forever game that's indistinguishable from the other games on the market. I know that these devs were probably developing Highguard around the same time that Concord was being developed, and they for sure saw the very short lifespan that that game had. But unfortunately, I think by the time they saw Concord crash and burn, it was too late for Highguard to make any significant changes because they were already so far into development at that point. So realistically, they only had two options: either keep developing the game and hope that it won't go the same way as Concord, or delay it for a few more years in order to make some more significant changes. And as we can see, with a little over a month left until launch, they chose to stick it out till the end and just hope for the best. And I think they were seeing the writings on the walls too. That's why they were planning to launch it as a free-to-play game in order to minimize the damage. But as we saw with what happened to Concord during its free beta weekend, that still wasn't enough to accumulate a sizable player population. And just like Concord, I think Highguard is going to be highly cooked. And you know, I'm not saying that these devs deserve this kind of backlash, but at this point, I have to ask, what were you expecting? You did a bait and switch at the Game Awards, got people excited for a game that's never going to exist at this point, just for another generic, free-to-play live service hero shooter that we've already seen a million times already. At this point, people are done with the mediocre, uninspired slop titles that are being churned out now. More and more gamers have stopped drinking the corporate Kool-Aid and realized that no, they don't have to spend $70, $80, or even $100 on these titles that provide less content than games from previous years, have way more microtransactions, and are usually performing way worse even though the hardware is improving every single year. We're just not having it anymore with the state of this industry, which is why a majority of gamers on average only purchase about 2 brand new games annually. The rest of the time, they either go back to replaying old games that they already like, buying cheaper indie games with similar quality, or they just stick to free-to-play titles, which is already an oversaturated market as it is, with the heavy hitters having pretty much complete dominance over it. Titles such as League of Legends, Fortnite, Roblox, Warzone, Apex Legends, and so many more are all competing for your time. So Highguard, a brand new IP from an unknown studio with no past history, better make something that absolutely knocks it out of the park like Expedition 33 did. The thing is that so far from everything that we've seen from this game, it doesn't look too promising, and with only a month left until the full launch, I don't know if Wildlight Studios can ever recover from this disastrous first impression. But that's just me. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know down below and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content in the future. See ya.